Okay, so we're going to talk today about finalizing the assignment, and also we're going to talk about what should be on your section. Now, I included a section because the section that you should have is basically a section of a base cabinet and a wall cabinet. Now, in any section, you will definitely see some details here. For example, I had the bulkhead, and that's why that bulkhead here that is drop down, it's almost like a drop down ceiling. It needed to be exactly next. I placed that detail or section of my my base cabinet and the upper cabinet next to an elevation. And basically I was taking those two cabinets here. Okay, so because I took those cabinets, this is the section which on the floor plan should actually be here. Okay, so if you want to show that, I didn't want to cut the line because cutting the line of the wall means that we're going to take the inside of the wall. We didn't really take the inside of the wall. What you see here on the drawing is just the gypsum board on one side and the gypsum board of another side. So basically that's the cover of whatever the wall is going to have, insulation or whatever. So I didn't, put a lot of emphasis on that, but that's the wall thickness that we have here in that section. That is that wall section that we have here. The bulkhead is basically just, pieces of wood, okay, that are placed together, and then we cover them with gypsum board. And that's why that gypsum board, I think it's either 1/2 of an inch or 5/8 of an inch, would translate to 16 millimeter. It depends on which one that you want. This is also about 16 millimeter. So just an indication of what material that is, which is gypsum board, as we said. And it's supposed to be painted. So that's why this is what I wrote. I used leader, as I showed you before, how to use leader in terms of how to place all of those details. I also put those in this is this cabinet here, those cabinets, and I put adjustable shelves. You might have a full, this is basically those small bulkheads are, you definitely have a little bit of a gap. Sometimes you don't have a gap, it's just flushed through the wall. It depends on flushed all the way to the ceiling or the bulkhead bottom. So it depends. Take a deep look on what you have in your home. Do you have that space or not? And accordingly, if you have, I have that space in my home, so I just added, but if not, those are nailed together, and this is nailed to the back of the base of the upper cabinet. So this is really dependent on you. Now, those doesn't have to be exactly to scale, but so if you're asking me about those scales, you just have to kind of eyeball it in a way according to the sizes. You definitely can tell the sizes of the cabinet. If you measure them, you're definitely gonna be able to measure that, and you're gonna be able to measure the shelf. So those are information that you have. Now the information is that we use those bulks to fasten the position of because those cabinets are going to be heavy, and they're going to be also heavy with the type of utensils that you're going to put in. So they have to be fastened with something blocky like those wood blocks, and usually we use nails to fasten those. Okay, so that's why you're going to see all of those small size blocks or big size blocks, because that's basically what we need to do. Is that you're going to find that I have one here and I have one where the cabinets are going to be hanging. Usually the cabinets that are going to be hanging or suspended or does have any relationship to the back wall and they are upper cabinets, they will need those fastened. Just like any bookshelf that you buy from IKEA, you're going to find that they have those too. Okay, so that's why I added those, and I urge you to add those also as a proper scale. Another thing is the backsplash. So what type of a backsplash? Usually this is almost the 7 or 8 millimeters. And I just put in the type of subway tile. If you have subway tile backsplash, you have to say that this is a full height, or if you just have a small size one, it's going to end, and you have to give it its height, and you also have to tell us what type of backsplash that is. Sometimes the backsplash and the countertop are the same, so you have to put that in using this multi-leader that I'm just going to talk about. The Korean countertop, that's a different type than the backsplash. That's why I actually, kind of separated them from each other. But for example, here, which is this drawer here, I have a drawer here, but I just forgot to put the pull out handle. But here you're going to find that there is a stainless steel drawer pull and cabinet door handle, and those are made from the same material. So if I want, first of all, what I do is that I just put a leader like here, with whatever that I want to write. And by the way, if you're writing and you found that whatever that you're writing here is big because you didn't select the text or the proper text for that, you can just click here and change that. You can put any. So for example, I put 70 because 70 was too big, and I put 13 instead. And I can refer to that with stainless steel, drawer, whatever, pull up, pull. Okay, and after I finish and close the text editor with the mark, what I will do is that if there is something else with the same material, I'm going to click here on the leader, and then there's something called add leader. So this is what we do. We're going to click on add leader, and then I'm going to click here. Okay, sorry, go back again on add leader, and then it's asking me about multi-leader. So this is going to be the one. All right, and then after I do that, after I click on that main leader, I can actually get another leader, and I can position it where I want, and right click and enter, and that's it. So basically you can have two arrows and referring to just one text. Okay, just gonna delete that. Also, adjustable shelf, cabinet, and door, MDF, the type of door that you have here. You really want to research that. You want to see what type of door do you have, like maple wood or whatever type of door, and finish on that door. If you can find this information, the toe kick as well, if that's the same. Toe kick usually have a bulk behind them. Again, I got all of those information from either the floor plan, because I needed the wall thickness, and I needed to know the height, the width of the cabinet, whether the upper cabinet or not. So I kind of I measured those, and then I applied those here. But mainly, most of those lines I have extended here. Another thing that should be on the section for the upper cabinet and the build cabinet, this base cabinet, is the dimensions. You're dimensioning the bulkhead, which is, if you have a drop-down ceiling, you might not have that. So what you will have is this wall that I have here, and the upper cabinet height, the space between, which is the space where the backsplash is occupying, and the height of the base cabinet. So this is basically what should be on any section. Details regarding all the materials that you have in that section. We're talking about millwork section, and how the millwork looks from the inside. Okay, so basically, if I have a drawer, that's how the drawer looks like. Okay, that's the drawer head, and that's the pull up of the drawer. And usually we also fasten the countertop. So you're gonna find that this is a countertop part, or this is wood or MDF. Anything with that hatching is MDF. And I just want to show you the hatching that I chose as well. So for this type of hatching, if you can see, I chose the ANSI 131, and I gave it 70 just to be shown. And for this, which is the gypsum board, which is mostly what we use in our homes, I used the ARCONC and gave it 5. And for the Korean countertop, I'm going to click on it. I used the A sand with 10. And for what else? I guess that's, yes. And for the subway tile, I chose that. So if I click here, you're going to find that I selected the AR, B88, and this is 5. I mean, there is no, there is not a lot of patterns or that you can check from, but just the ones that I chose are very much likely that most of you are going to be using. Even if you're using MDF or wood, this is going to be just to distinguish between each one of them. So that's how your section, again, you might not have a bulkhead. If you do, that might be similar to mine. If you don't, then everything is going to be fastened to the wall like what you see. So the wall is going to be empty. There is no insulation. You can, I don't want to put anything in the wall actually, because we're not into the process of knowing what's inside of the wall right now. So this is how a section will look like. And one of the things that you're going to be doing also for each one of those, because I noticed that if you submitted your work without adding layers to the elevation or the section, well, you need to retrieve the work back and start adding the layers, the proper layers. All the layers that you used here are going to be the same that you use for the kitchen. So equipment are going to be placed on equipment. The fridge and the stove are going to be placed in the hood. The ventilation hood are going to be placed on the same layer where their counterparts on the floor plan are. So don't miss those layers just because I didn't put them in. You wouldn't. Your job as a student is to follow the assignment requirement. The assignment requirement is all of those, including those are going to be, or even including everything in the section. The bulkhead is also, you're gonna put it on millwork. So everything here is going to also be added accordingly to the elevation. So basically, most of this is millwork. You're gonna find it on the millwork, or you're gonna put it on the millwork layer. So also, what you need to do is to label each one of those. So after adding all the layers and the dimension, I forgot to talk about dimension. Do not leave any elevation without dimension. For example, I dimensioned the bulkhead that I have. I dimensioned the window height. Okay. And I also dimensioned the space between which is supposedly that space is occupied by the tile, which is the subway tile, and then I dimensioned the base cabinet and the toe kick. There is no need for you to dimension the fridge. If there would have been a need if you did have a cabinet above the fridge, so that would definitely be one of the things that you need to dimension. Okay, so don't leave any elevation that you have without a dimension. Another thing that you will need to add is the labels. Now, we don't know the scale. We're just going to explain later what the scale is going to be. But what I did is that I went to text here with a single line, and I just put that text here, and I started to write kitchen. That's also kitchen countertop. Now, before doing that, you should actually go to the text part and just just select which text that you're going to use. I'm going to be using the room labels basically, so that's the one that I'm going to use, and I'm going to go to text again, single line, because each one of those does have a different size. And I'm going to click here, enter, and then start typing kitchen RCP, for example. Okay, and I'm going to type scale 1 to 500, or we're going to talk about the scale later when we're printing, but that's basically it. And escape, and then I can draw a line here, right? And then I'm going to move that to be like this. Okay, so that's each one of those should be labeled accordingly. As I said, the kitchen elevations are going to have a different labeling because according to what you have on the floor plan, for example, this is 1, 2, or this is 2, 2. I don't have that in my floor plan on my screen, but I will show you how to rotate in just a second. Now, 1 to 2, or 1 on sheet 2, this means that this is elevation 1 that's going to be located on sheet number 2. So I added exactly the same thing. I made that circle. It doesn't have to be the same size as you have upward. And I put kitchen elevation. You don't have to. You might put north or west accordingly, but then the 1 and 2 is going to make the contractor looking at the symbol above and know what that is. Okay. Another thing I want to say is that if you do not have those type of lines that are dashed, which should be, all of them should be dashed, make sure that you type LT scale, enter, and make sure that you select that 3. So if it's not, if it's 0, if it's 1, you need to actually accept that factor of 3 and click. Okay, so I'm just going to type 3 and enter, just for those to be showing. Okay, because we're definitely going to need to see them dashed on the paper space when we're printing. So we're going to talk about printing in just a second, but I just wanted you to see the section, how the section is going to look like. You can definitely print. You can definitely write also. Okay, so this is the cabinet upper and base section. Okay, if it's too big, we can definitely make it small. And then I'm just gonna write somewhere else 1 scale 1 to 400, whatever. And again, we're just going to create a line like that, and then move this into here. Okay, so this can be moved to the side like this, and then this is moving in here. So that's what you will be doing for the section. I'm just gonna somehow try to zoom on the section so you can see it better. So I'm gonna do like a window. Okay, so that's how the section, my section, looking like. Okay, and if you have an elevation that you will need to rotate. Now, anything that you have, okay, let's say that you place something on here. If you place an elevation on the side, all you have to do is that you need to bring them all back into a horizontal position, okay? So right now we had an elevation where you flip things, okay? So what you need to do is just, you need to flip everything to the right horizontal part, which is where the top is. The north is up and top is here. Make sure that you are in 2D view. Some student, when they click, they might put this in 3D mode. Okay, so make sure that you are on top view, so you are actually on the 2D mode, not on 3D. And now, how to rotate? Well, if I have something here, all I have to do, well, I have an elevation that is placed on that side after I rotated the whole view. Just reuse rotate, click on rotate. Okay, I'm just gonna imagine that this is an elevation on its, which is not, but just imagining that. I'm gonna click, okay, and then I'm going to rotate it into the proper position. When rotating, make sure that you use the ortho mode. Okay, so when you rotate it and you want to rotate it the right position, I'm gonna click like that and it's rotated. Okay, so everything has to be on that horizontal position. All the elevations, they do have to be in that horizontal position next to each other. Where you put them around is not really important, because when we print them, I mean, but just make sure that they are within reach, because when we print, we're actually going to zoom on each one of them individually. All right, so doesn't really matter where you place it. Just make sure that every elevation that you have is rotated in that horizontal position.